thank you guys so much for joining. I'm sure you guys are a little bit aware of who I am. I'm Nasser Judah, Customer Success Manager for your accounts. You likely got the invite from me, so hopefully you're acquainted with who I am. I've been at Cargas about 9 months. Prior to coming to Cargas, I actually worked at Oracle. The solution that I worked on the most was actually an ERP solution. So this conversation is, I guess you could say, near and dear to my heart. Today I've got with me Ryan and Michael, so I'll go ahead and let them introduce themselves before we get started. So Ryan, why don't you kick us off?
Cool. Okay, I get to start. All right, thank you, Nasser. My name is Ryan Butzer, and my background is I'm a recovering accountant. I was a public accountant for years, doing small, medium audit and tax work, that sort of thing. Then I did what a lot of accountants do and moved over to the private side and became a CFO of a local food manufacturer and distributor here in Pennsylvania. And one of my first tasks was to replace our 20-year-old server-based ERP system. It was a Mass 90 Sage 100 product. And went through and did the sales process, implementation, training, learned all about it. And I figured, you know what, there's got to be some better ways to do things. So I thought, with my background in accounting, my experience going through that transition, I can help people like yourselves or other organizations kind of go through a transition and sort of be a guide, which is one of the reasons I hopped on with Cargas, because they've been a great organization to be consultative and help people guide through a process of looking for an ERP solution or something else in the accounting space. So happy to be here and talk with everyone about my experience going through that transition.
Hey everybody, I'm Michael Ritu. Nasser, thanks for having me on. I'm also a customer success manager, but on our Sage Intacct team. So I've been in the technology, sales, customer success realm for the past 7 years, enjoying the last 2+ here at Cargas. And ultimately my role is just to help our customers, solve their challenges with software, achieve their goals and objectives when using Sage Intacct.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for joining. Thanks for those intros. Quick question or quick point of clarification for our audience. We are going to have kind of an opportunity for questions at the end. That being said, if something we're talking about stimulates an idea or a thought or a question, feel free to drop it into the chat. The chat, as well as the call, is being recorded. So if we're not able to get to those questions that come through in the chat, we'll certainly try to make it a point to follow up. Make sure that we have those addressed for you guys. And so again, the point of today's call and the reason we kind of titled it the Fireside Chat, we didn't want this conversation to be death by PowerPoint. We didn't want to just throw a lot of slides at you. We wanted it to be kind of a consultative, kind of relaxed environment to just talk about something that's very important to businesses, right? ERP systems are the backbone of every business, regardless of what platform you're using. So today we're going to kind of talk about some of the pain points that our customers have experienced, some of the ways we've solved those issues, and different ways that they can. Sometimes it's not just, one way is the right way. There are many ways you can go about it, and so we'll explore those different options. Again, we want the call today to be a little bit more interactive, right? So we're going to kick things off with a polling question. Maggie, if you will, go ahead and fire up that first polling question for us. All right, so how many balance sheets are you currently managing to run your organization? All right, we'll just give everybody a few minutes here to answer that. Okay, awesome. So it seems like most folks, we had a person that picked one balance sheet. It seems like most people are using multiple balance sheets, whether it be that 2 to 4 range or that 5 to 10 range. And so that kind of gives us a sense of kind of where you guys are at in terms of your business operations. So let's go ahead and get into it. So I guess the first question, and then I'll leave it up to you guys to, field this question, but what are the challenges, or what are some of the challenges at least, of running multiple balance sheets?
I'll kind of start here. If I got the vote, which I didn't, I tried to click on the button, but C would have been my answer when I was CFO. 5 balance sheets is what we managed. We had 5 different entities. It was a family-owned business. Different operations. One was manufacturing, one was distribution, one was transportation. So we had a couple things going on within there. And the biggest problem we had obviously was intercompany transactions. That was huge. So trying to reconcile those took a long time and it was very tedious. So if you transferred money from one to the other, then you had to go log into one, enter the information, log into the other, enter the information, and then you'd have to go at the end of the month or whenever our period close was. We'd have to go and reconcile, make sure did you enter it in the right place in the right time for both those areas. So I know that was, again, it still is. I've been working with ERPs for quite a long time. My favorite capability of some of the newer ERPs, especially the Sage Intacct side, is the ability to automatically do intercompany transactions. So it's a very nerdy functionality, but a very simple concept. But the ability for it to do the transactions and to manage that for you without having to manually enter all the do to do froms is probably my favorite part of ERP, and would have saved me tons of time having 5 balance sheets in my past.
Yeah, definitely. Intercompany is a not everybody uses it, but for those people who do use it, getting that automatic do to, do from, letting the system kind of do some of that work, it's a game changer. Michael, any context or anything you want to add to this one?
I think Ryan pretty much hit it all.
Awesome. All right, so kind of keeping in the same vein, making this interactive, we're going to go ahead and put one more polling question out there for you guys. So you'll probably see it here pop up on your screen here in a second. How long does it take, or how long does it take you to close your books today? Ooh, this is a good one. I'm sure the answers are gonna be all over the place. All right. So we got some folks that are 1 to 3 days. That's awesome. I'm sure there are some clients of ours out there that wish they could close it in 1 to 3 days. So you know, maybe you're already leveraging some of the features and functionality that makes closing your books easy. I guess to kind of next question then, many businesses that we talk to find that reporting gets complicated. Sometimes when there's delays, like you're having to pull from Excel, you're having to pull from outside sources, that can even cause further delays. Just curious, you know, from your accounting perspective, Michael or Ryan, you know, how does that impact? How does that snowball and kind of impact the growth of a business, having those delays when it comes to reporting and when it comes to, you know, pulling from different outside sources?
Michael, since I took yours last time, I'll let you go first so I don't take anything from you.
Sure. Yeah, I think it can be big. You know, something when I'm talking with customers after they're coming off of their initial implementation, you know, this topic always comes up. And I think the more and more I talk with companies, the real-time reporting, the insights that they get, being able to close those books earlier on a system like Intacct has really helped them a lot. They've seen a lot of improvement in those areas. Specific example of that just came to mind, Shaker and Gas had been using the same software for almost 3 decades. They made the move to Intacct. They got that real-time reporting so that there were no real surprises at the end of the month. You know, they were able to have their executive team have greater visibility into what they were doing throughout the month, day to day, so that when it came time to close those books at the end of the month, you know, there were no big surprises, no interruptions that further delayed that.
Yeah, I tell you what, I mean, these kind of questions kind of go hand in hand, they come together, but the fact that the first question most people had, you know, between 5 and 10 and they close within 1 to 3 days, that is wild, and we need to start pulling them on how they're doing that, because right. I've never seen that to be able to do in, you know, 3 days, especially if you have multiple entities, because that usually is where the issues come up. Is when you're doing these, you know, do froms or intercompany transactions, or you have multiple balance sheets you need to close. Not only all the information is available to you in the first 1 to 3 days in terms of being able to close AP, or everyone's entered in all the bills they need to enter in, or done the receipts they need to do for the month. So the ability to close books is obviously a very important organization to have the most up-to-date financials. And if you can minimize the time you have in that kind of limbo space between the end of the month and when you're actually to be able to present financials to a board or to other members of the team, that is a crucial time period that the team needs to work together. So being able to leverage resources like software or other pieces that can help make the period close smoother and faster gives everyone the ability to see the information the way they want to see it and in a timely fashion, which again is really the goal of the accounting team, is to get the information to the team. Because if we didn't have to do accounting, I don't think anyone really would if we didn't really have to. Obviously, it's a requirement for a lot of different areas. So when people want to see the reports and got to get them on a timely basis, then it makes the accounting team look good.
Ryan, just to kind of like double click there. So do you think that, I mean, again, I think it's kind of a miracle that you can close books that fast, but do you think it has something to do with the financial system better communicating with the other parts of the business, whether it be inventory or CRM or
Yeah.
thing?
I think it's a lot of those things in terms of being able to connect to the operational side of things, to connect to even the budgetary pieces, but all those employee expenses or payroll. Not all those things are in there in the first 1 to 3 days, or your payroll accruals in a sense. And oftentimes, if you're using a legacy software, like I was using Sage 100 or using QuickBooks, that information, even between the different balance sheets, are siloed and living in different areas. So, for example, if you have QuickBooks and you have 5, 6 different entities, you have to log into one, log into another, log in. It's not just not a shared environment where all things live together. So you have to do things in phases and steps separately, and then bring that information together, whether it be in Excel, if you're going to do consolidation. So if you have 10 entities and you need to show a consolidated report, you can't do that in an Excel-based, in a QuickBooks-based environment, or a lot of the legacy, especially server-based systems that are out there, because everything's living in their own environment. And I know the environment that I was using had been there for 20 years. It started with a single chart of accounts, and people just had added accounts to it, never really changed it because it was hard to change accounts once they're there. And once the system grows like that, each one of those different silos becomes their own sort of growing entity of different GL accounts. And then when you try to bring those together from a consolidation standpoint, it's very time consuming because you have to remap all the time in terms of, hey, what accounts are over here? Or you changed the account number, or you added these accounts that aren't over here. So living in separate siloed systems makes that process difficult. So the sooner you can get those things closed, obviously the better. So some of the newer softwares out there allow it to be sort of a shared environment where data can live together and also separately at the same time, so you can report on individual entities or them all together in one environment without them log in and out, and have all those pieces work seamlessly, and also connect to your operational system to get that data as well.
Nice. So you kind of touched on the integration side, and I think, for lack of a better term, you've got like the period close scramble, right? It's time to close our books, and it's just like, it's the craziness. So we talked about the integration piece. I think it wouldn't be a business fireside chat if we didn't talk about artificial intelligence, or maybe step back, like automation. How does that kind of factor into this whole thing?
Michael?
Yeah, well, I think first and foremost, talking Cargas Energy, Intacct, we've built a direct integration between the two, makes that whole process a lot simpler and easier, whether it's daily or whenever that information is syncing over. So, everything that you got going on in Cargas Energy, flowing over to Intacct, to make that close process easier throughout the month. But just in general, automating things. These new modern cloud-based ERP systems, there's a lot of automation going on, and we could get into some more of those details. But just things like AP automation, for example, like all of the manual data entry, the inevitable mistakes that come with that, human error, just something like that can, greatly reduce the amount of time that your team is spending on those tasks, so that they can focus on, more strategic things that are actually going to add value instead of, entering in AP bills. So that's just one of many, but AP automation, AR automation, the ability to integrate with other cloud-based applications is huge. And I think, Nasser, like you said, it can't be stated enough.
Yeah, we've seen, with a lot of organizations that use some of the newer technologies, as they bring on, new staff, especially accountants, they're thrilled about to use a software that can do a lot of those things they're used to seeing in other pieces of software. They're not using software that's older than they are, like, in that sense. And it makes them a lot more comfortable. Also allows you to from a hiring and staffing standpoint, to recruit people if you have, again, a more streamlined and automated process from a software standpoint. And there's a lot of things that the new software can do. Michael mentioned about AP automation. There's a lot of machine learning where it can detect anomalies in your GL when it's posted to the wrong area, things like that. There's checklists around your period close to make sure things happen. A lot of those functionality to make the day of an accountant a lot easier in a sense. And a lot of people you're trying to bring on staff have an accounting background and have experience there, and you want to really leverage their accounting knowledge and not just have them be there as data entry. So if they can take that information that's automatically coming in the system and then analyze it instead of being the one that is entering in the information into the system, you get a lot more value add out of your employees. We've seen a lot of success there, and a lot of people that one of the reasons they really think this has been a successful project for them is they're getting more out of their employees because they're doing less data entry and then doing more analyzing that information, whether it be budgets or budget actual or operational and related information. So if you can get more out of your people, then you're going to the investment makes a lot more sense for a lot of people.
Yeah, you nailed it, Ryan. Actually, a lot of conversations that I've been in that revolve around AI automation, the first thing that employees kind of think of is my job's going to get replaced. But what a lot of leaders are saying is no, it's just that we hired you, you're awesome at what you do, and so we want to focus on those skills. We don't necessarily want you, like you said, to be a data entry kind of a robot there. We want to use the skills that you bring to the table. So I'm glad that you called that out.
Yeah, because and to your point, what you're just saying there, on a resume, it's not like how fast can you enter in a bill. That's not part of your resume. That's not part of the interview process. It's where did you go to school? What's your background? How well do you know cost accounting? Those kind of things that are more things around the accounting side versus how quickly can you enter an AP bill.
Right.
Yeah. And just to add, AI, it's big. There's a lot going on right now, and there's more to come. And something exciting about Sage Intacct. So if anybody's out there is using Microsoft Copilot, that's going to be within Intacct within the next year or two. So there's a lot out there now, but even more to come in the future.
You know what? I don't know if it's because Microsoft owns LinkedIn, and that's why I'm seeing Copilot nonstop on my LinkedIn feed.
It's everywhere.
I feel like I need to kind of get better acquainted with how Copilot can make my life easier. I think it's impacting every business, not just accounting, not just customer success managers. So that's a good call out, Michael. I guess, Michael, we'll stick with you on the next question. So from a consulting perspective, how does ERP systems, how do they interact with Cargas Energy? I know you work a lot with Intacct, so how does Intacct and Cargas Energy kind of mesh together?
Yeah, so I mentioned the direct integration before, so we've got the data flowing from Cargas Energy over to Intacct already, but I think even more so, we've seen a lot of benefit for our customers using both because it's all under one roof, one Cargas. So our team's ability to communicate with one another is important in addition to the integration between the systems. So, and then similar to the point on communication, the way you would interact with our Intacct team is very similar to how you're interacting with Nasser and the Cargas Energy team. We have a dedicated customer experience team on this side of the house as well. Pair that with a great team of expert consultants that are with you every step of the way. So there's a lot of similarities between the two teams, but then bringing it all together is where the magic happens.
That's right. One team, one dream, as I like to say. So maybe from your experience, do you have and I know I'm putting your feet to the fire here, but do you have an example of maybe a customer that we've worked with that is both on Intacct and both on Cargas Energy, and maybe we've achieved some success together because of that shared relationship, both technology-wise, but also the human element?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think overall, at a very high level, being able to help a lot of customers across the board, save time and effort, just, that's kind of like the baseline, right, by migrating to a modern system. More specifically, a couple that comes to mind in addition to the Stigler gas one that I mentioned earlier, Santoro Oil we worked with. Cargas Energy customer. They were on an old on-premise system, made the switch over to Intacct, saw the, just simple things like their new user setup. They told us it was taking them hours to do before, just getting a user set up with all the roles and permissions. They cut that down to minutes. Integrating to other cloud-based systems, it really helped them a lot too. So, they have the direct integration of Cargas Energy. Now let's integrate to an AP automation solution. Hey, what else can we, either write a custom integration to, or maybe there's already one on the Intacct marketplace. So lots of different options there. Another one would be Dixie Oil, gas and oil. They saw a huge improvement just because they had multiple locations. Intacct's very well suited for with their multi-entity capabilities. So they were able to easily centrally manage all of their locations under one platform, reduce a lot of their manual data entry, all of those mistakes that come with it. But there's also a number of case studies, and I'll give a little plug for Cargas.com, CargasEnergy.com. There's a whole bunch listed there that you can read about. Lots of great info and specific highlights, improvements that were made.
Awesome. I love the shameless plug there. Gotta have it.
You got to.
All right. So a lot of good things, right? We're using a lot of the buzzwords, automation, AI, integration. So, I mean, these are things that, that's what everybody wants nowadays. And so I think I want to kind of talk about the elephant in the room, right? We know there are all these bells and whistles, there's all these features, but I guess for the customers out there that are kind of thinking, man, this all sounds great, but moving ERP systems is a big lift. Sometimes, you get frozen by how much of a lift it actually is, right? You're going to have to train your new employees. You got to get everything swapped over. You're still doing your day-to-day operation. So I guess either of you, or maybe both of you, what would you tell a customer that's thinking like, I really want all of these things. I want to be able to leverage my team to the best of their ability using AI and automation, or I want this, I want that, but why should they not be frozen by despair or fear, nervousness, or whatever the adjective is you want to use?
Yeah, a lot of things we talk about during a sales process is risk mitigation. Because again, if you're going to make an investment like this, there is some risk involved, and we want to make sure that we talk through all the requirements and why you might do something like this, and try to mitigate some of that risk and understand what you'd be gaining as you go through this process. So, and then during implementation, a lot of the time is spent on change management, because obviously when you're moving from one system to the other, there's a lot of people. I mean, if you have training of your employees, you have to, the way the reports look, and a lot of it is really just going through your current processes and asking the question, all right, why are we doing it this way? So a lot of people are really scared of what's going to happen and how this might look, or it might not work out at all, or this is going to make my life harder, even though it's supposed to be easier. But really, we want to make sure we understand all those things around your requirements and help you. Okay, what are we trying to gain? What did you say a year down the road or 2 years from now? What would make this project successful? And we document that. Okay, we call it kind of your project success plan in a sense, and kind of what are your requirements around that. So, and we always refer back to that. These are the things we're trying to accomplish, and if we're able to do those things, this is where we'll be after the fact. Not just an ROI in a sense, or you're going to save this amount of money, or in that sense, because accounting software doesn't make you money like maybe a CRM or obviously a Cargas Energy can if you're able to manage more customers better. But really allows you to, like we talked about before, it's really that value added the employees you have, better reporting, better access to metrics and numbers that maybe you didn't have access to in the past, and be able to make decisions quicker and with better information that and a lot of the organization ownership or board, something has been looking to for quite a while.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's what I was thinking too. Is you mentioned it might not make you immediate money like ROI perspective, but making data-driven decisions is almost as valuable, right? If not, equally as valuable, because everyone wants to grow the business, they want to scale the business, and so you need to be able to have data-informed decisions to do that, or to do that well at least. So I'm glad you called that out. Anything to add from your end, Michael?
We'll just say, Ryan, of course, with another great answer. I would just say, really simply put, it's worth it and it makes sense. Of course, there is a lot of effort involved. It's not without a lift, like you said. But if that's a concern, know that there's a team here ready, willing to support you. Guide you along that path.
Right. I think it's safe to say, like, a customer having this lift on top of their normal day-to-day is sort of baked in to our approach as an implementation team, right? Like, we're going to factor that in. It's not so much, oh, you decided to do this, figure it out, right? We kind of have it built into the recipe that we're here
Right.
to help. You have a
Right.
team.
Your job does not become 40 hours a week Sage Intacct implementer, so rest assured. Yeah.
Right. Okay, cool. Well, thank you guys both. So I think now we've kind of rambled on for a little bit. So let's kind of take a second. Let's open it up to the audience. Feel free if you have any questions, concerns, whether it's something that we talked about that maybe jogged your memory or brought something to the surface, or if it's something we didn't touch on but you are kind of curious about it or have questions about it as it relates to the ERP space. We'll go ahead and give the chat just a few minutes, give everybody a chance to put in their questions, and then we'll go from there. All right, seeing a little trickle here. Don't be shy. It's okay. What's the old thing that they used to tell us in college? Like, if you had that question, probably 5 other people in the class had that question. So I'm sure if you're feeling it, somebody else might be too. So feel free to drop a question in there as well. All right, I'll go ahead and get started with some of these. Again, as we're going on, if you have questions or concerns or something comes to mind, please drop it in there. If we don't get to it today, we'll certainly follow up with some answers or some feedback. So I guess the first one, can you provide examples of how you've seen success in a situation where a company acquires another company or experiences rapid growth? This is a great question, actually, because we have a lot of acquisitions that take place in this space. So not sure which one of you wants to field that, but again, can you provide examples of how you've seen success in a situation where a company acquires another company or experiences rapid growth?
Yeah, Ryan, I can start. In the energy space, lots of acquisitions happening. Specific examples of success when they bring on those new organizations, after an acquisition. The process to set up a new entity within Intacct is pretty seamless. It's pretty easy. So I know, whether it's 1 or 5, whatever, it makes that whole process a lot simpler, faster, easier to bring in those new organizations, into the fold, into their accounting system.
Awesome. Anything to add to that one, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, from my standpoint, talking to organizations, oftentimes we're looking talking to someone who is in the process of, they're in acquisition mode. They're saying, okay, we're looking to switch software and we're looking to acquire more organizations. So what does that look like for us as we grow? So again, the ability to do easy consolidations obviously is a key piece for them when they're looking at what it can do. But to Michael's point, spinning up an entity in a software like Intacct is literally less than 5 minutes. It's a very simple process. But also you have then to worry about staff from this new organization. You have to worry about chart of accounts and what that looks like. The nice part about working with Cargas and having our integration with Cargas Energy and Sage Intacct is the whole team is involved. So when you're acquiring another organization and then say they're not using Cargas Energy and you're going to bring them on, the Cargas Energy team is going to help them get involved and bring that organization into the Cargas Energy side. Same thing is true on the accounting ERP side. So the whole team at Cargas is there to help support that process and the change management. So your employees will be trained on the energy side, the accountants will be trained on the accounting software. So that full circle of your environment from operations to accounting is all handled all within Cargas. We're able to help, again, get the entity spun up, get the new employees or the acquired employees trained, and chart of accounts and all the reporting that's needed around that side of things, as well as Cargas Energy on the operational side. So all those bases that you might have been concerned about and maybe someone's going to drop the ball, Cargas is there as a partner organization to be there to help the entire way through that acquisition and others, and also help you lay a blueprint for when you do more. So it's not just something we want to say, this is a one-off, this is never going to happen again. We're going to help design a process to say, when this happens again, these are the steps we're going to go through. These are the steps you're going to go through to help that be a successful acquisition or merger, because obviously that's something that you don't want to fail, because there's a lot of investment and time that goes into this.
Right. That's a good call out. And I think this next question, I'm not answering them in order, so I apologize to the audience if you're feeling like, hey, I asked first. But it just feeds in nicely to this. So we have an acquisition, you have rapid growth. Likely that means multiple locations, multiple departments, or maybe an expanded location set, expanded department set. So how does a new system help with that?
Right. So a lot of times we're trying to kind of migrate information in, so we can do data conversion, so historical information into that entity. We can do, but also making sure that we're training the team, especially the team we're acquiring, on the structure that's laid out now, in terms of what departments are there, how they're set up, because those are all dimensions within Sage Intacct that you can tag on different transactions, which is the key. So a lot of it comes around to training, of especially the new people in the organization, of how things are done within that and how we can best utilize what they're using and what's already configured and set up within Sage Intacct and Cargas entity to make sure that's all mapped properly, so they get all the reporting that they need.
Yeah, I'd also add there's features within Intacct, for example, like Collaborate, where team members can physically chatter, type messages, notes to each other within the system, so that if an AP bill is going through, they can have notes and everybody can be on the same page, and across multiple locations. Without something like that, of course, it can get hard to track, hard to follow. So just some built-in tools really help with that.
Okay, great. So the next question, it's funny, I'm smiling because it makes me think of your comment earlier, Ryan, where you were like, I have a system as older than me. So I'm not judging you, whoever asked this, but the question is, how often do we need to upgrade our servers? So this leads me to think maybe this is someone that's not too familiar with cloud-based solutions, and so maybe we could just kind of talk through that for them a little bit.
Yeah, again, there's one big advantage of a cloud-based solution is that's the job of the provider. So a SaaS-based solution, a software as a service solution, as they say, is all included in your subscription with one of the software providers. So it would be Sage Intacct or Microsoft or any of those out there. That's included in your subscription. You don't have to do anything. They upgrade their service, make sure they're as fast, they're reliable. They have guaranteed uptime, things like that. They have disaster recovery. I know Sage has a buy with confidence guarantee that makes sure that any data that's there doesn't have an issue. The uptime is there. I think it's 98.8%. So it's some ridiculous percent that it needs to be up, 99.8 that it needs to be up. But also making sure that, again, you have access to all those things. So anywhere you can access them from anywhere. But the answer to that is, if you're using a SaaS-based solution, the only time you need to upgrade your servers from the accounting side will be never. And obviously, Cargas Energy can live on the silver line if you'd like that route. So our goal is to not take the jobs of the IT group, but save you money on any kind of server upgrades or costs around that side of thing, and leave that to someone else who can manage that side of things for you.
Awesome. I feel like it's going to be hard to add to that, Michael, but anything to add? I think Ryan hit all the good.
Absolutely, 100%. Don't need to worry about it.
Okay, awesome. All right, last call for questions, you guys. That was kind of all the questions that we got in. Last call, we'll kind of give you 30 seconds or so to get these in, and then we'll kind of go from there. Just so you guys know, I have the attendees list, and I know all of you who asked me questions on our calls together, so I might start picking names. Cool. All right, guys, I think that might be it for questions from the audience. Again, for those of you guys that attended, thank you so much for your time today. Hopefully you learned something new, maybe scratched an itch that's been kind of pestering in the back of your mind. We all are still here on the Cargas team, so you work with me all the time. Ryan and Michael are here as well. So if there are some questions that you think maybe are unique to you or your business, you didn't feel like it made sense to kind of ask in a broader sense, let me know. I will be sending out this recording I know some folks maybe have other people on their team that couldn't join, or they kind of did a divide and conquer approach, and so someone went and someone stayed behind. So we'll share out the recording for you guys to kind of review on your own or share with your broader team. In that email that I'll send out, it'll have my contact information, and we'll kind of use that as the funnel, right? So based on where you are in your journey with a new ERP system or what kind of questions you have, I'll make sure to kind of get it to the right folks, likely either Michael or Ryan or maybe someone else on our team. But yeah, with that, thank you guys so much for joining today. We appreciate your time. Be on the lookout for more webinars like this. Again, informal discussions just to kind of talk about things in the industry or things that we think you might benefit from. So thank you so much. Have a happy Tuesday.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Nasser.